Welcome back to part 2 of my video series about Pokimane and why everybody hates her. What's going on here? Do you know the history? I sure did not. Now, for the previous video, I talked about the backstory of Pokimane, how she kind of got her comeuppance. I guess that sounds kind of negative. How she kind of came up in the world of streaming, the cookie fiasco, the many brands that she's had, Pokimane rebranding, and Pokimane being a capitalism enjoyer, question mark. Which I was like, it's not really, I don't think it's really a question at this point. In today's video, I'm going to get right into it and we're going to talk about Pokimane being kind of criticized as being a simp pioneer. We're going to be talking about parasocial relationships and going into great detail about what exactly that entails. And to answer the question, is Pokimane a pioneer of it? Or is she just another streamer who benefits from the dynamic? And how bad is the parasocial relationships and interactions dynamic anyway? We're going to get into it immediately. Poki has had quite a few large donations over her career, but earlier on, it was obviously a lot crazier for her. She would react in a very like, oh my god type of way. That's me doing a very ecstatic I was about to say erection. That's me doing a very ecstatic emotion. Deal with it. That's as good as you're gonna get. And I see this as part of like a larger critique about how Pokimane has changed over her career. Maybe these days she wouldn't react as bigly to it. And by these days, I think probably like a few years ago, because I think she actually sort of retired and she also limited the amount people could donate. So that wasn't really happening as often anymore, if at all. So basically Pokimane's become out of touch, and that's a criticism, and I don't necessarily disagree with that either, because I tend to agree. I think a lot of people who get to kind of the level that she's at, very hard to stay in touch. But I think some people still manage to do it. It's gonna be really loud, guys. So, just be audio warning, audio jungle. Alright, thank you, Clover, for the gifted sub. 3, 2, 1. Say Chris Redfield. Hold on. That was so loud. Of course, I do think that the criticisms about what she has said and what she's done, I think those are valid. And we'll probably get into them, I think, in part 3. I think this is going to be a long one. But I find this otherizing of her fans to be kind of odd to me. And I think people act like this phenomenon of Pokimane's fans and having like a simp army. I think people act as if that's like exclusively unique to Pokimane.
Massive, dude. It's massive. And you know what else is massive?
What the fuck? Yo,
no, H.
Wait, dude, I think that's my top view of all time. Yo, this gotta be some sort of mistype, but wait, I'm pretty sure that's literally top view of all time, is it not?
And it's because of that's where I kind of start feeling like people are kind of reaching, I feel, or at least making kind of weird assumptions about her baiting her fans with her body and her looks to drive donations and loyalty.
I don't want anybody controlling, and I don't think that most people want to be in a relationship that's completely controlling. But what does it mean that someone would be intimidated by what she does?
So the reason why Pokimane says that it's hard for her to date because guys are intimidated, it's because Pokimane earns a lot of money. And what do we know is that a lot of guys can get very emasculated by that, because a lot of guys are grown up thinking that they need to be the provider. They have a very intrinsic identity that comes with the idea of being that provider. And when a woman comes along and does that, it can be intimidating for a lot of men, especially men who have very traditional values or traditional ideologies. It's just like kind of the way it is. I'm not going to say whether it's like the good way or the bad way. It just is the way that it is for a lot of guys. And if that's someone that you are like, if you feel like if your partner was earning more than you and that make you feel less of or lesser than, then I think that you need to evaluate how you see yourself and how you value yourself, because I think that's not how someone should value themselves. My partner tells me all the time that he would love it if I could out-earn him and make him a stay-at-home dad, and I think that's just so fucking funny. I think it's cool that my partner isn't someone who's like, hey, if you start earning more than me, then, you know, I'm gonna leave you, or I'm gonna feel really pathetic or really sad. Like, no, my partner's like, hey, I would love to stay home and cook all day and make your life better. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that Wade is just being kind of fucking ignorant here if he's gonna pretend like men don't get kind of emasculated when it comes to the finances, and if that's Pokimane's experience with guys. I don't find that hard to believe as a woman personally, but I don't think it should be that way. I think that sucks. But I feel like it's such like a non-issue if that's the way Pokimane sees the dating world and that's her experience. Then I feel like that's just her fucking feelings and experience about it. I don't think it really matters that much.
Does that mean that a man would maybe ask her to not post revealing pictures of herself on the internet? Does that mean that a man would not want her to be thirst trapping an audience to gain money and clout?
So, Wade, Mr. Vague Boy, where exactly is Pokimane posting these revealing pictures? Because I've checked her TikTok, I've checked her Instagram. I can't imagine there's any other social medias where she's secretly posting goon bait, quote unquote, because I really can't see anything to depict what is actually so problematic about what Pokimane posts. And this really makes my fucking blood boil, because as a woman, it genuinely feels like we cannot do anything, we cannot exist, we cannot exist at all without something that we do, something that we wear, being overly sexualized. And I feel like I said this in the video, but I made my fucking peace with this at one point in my life. At one point in my life, I went, you know what? People are gonna sexualize me no matter fucking what. I could wear pajamas on stream. I could wear fucking just like a dress on stream. I could wear a skirt. I could wear leggings. It doesn't fucking matter. Everything is sexualized. And that is an unfortunate part of the way it is. And I don't think it should be that way. And I'm not saying that we should just let that be. But I'm also saying that it's severely fucked up to me that a girl can just bend over to pick something up or to make like a show or something, and then it gets turned into and twisted into this thing where it's like, oh, well, she's showing her backside a little bit, so she's actually just like trying to get donations off of that. She's trying to build a parasocial relationship strictly off of that. And it's just so fucking insane to me, because it's like, you look at her fucking Instagram, you look at her fucking TikTok, nothing about it to me indicates anything that is even in the slight remotest way pornographic, softcore porn. There's nothing that's intimate about it. It's just her being her. And you know what? As a girl who, she is young. Yeah, yes, guys, she's still young. She might be almost 30. She's still young, okay? But that's not the point. She's a young woman who looks, you know, in my opinion, very beautiful. I think she is very fit, and I think she's proud of the way that she looks. And I think this comes back to the, dare I say, the red pill thing, where red pills always say, hey, I don't want a woman dressing a certain way or looking a certain way or presenting a certain way in public, because that should just be for me. And when I look at Pokimane, because Pokimane is always at the center of these discussions for some fucking reason, she's just wearing normal clothes. She looks cute. Her clothes are adorable. I like it. And from a woman's perspective, it's very fashionable a lot of the time. And if you look at her TikTok, like I said, there's a lot of women who are very interested and engaged in her content. She does photo shoots in China, this very popular trend that women love to see. And the fact that men are coming here and saying like, oh, well, she's just baiting the men is extremely fucking ignorant. I think it's bad faith. And I think, to be completely fucking honest with you, very porn-addled, fucking porn-addicted. Genuinely, get off the fucking Pornhub. And I say this as someone who draws NSFW art. You need to fucking chill the hell out, and you need to stop thinking that every single little, like this little paranoid little brain, like everything that Pokimane does is just a little thing to get her underage audience to fucking goon off of her. It's so fucking weird, and it's so fucking disturbing that these guys would actually say this about her when literally nothing she posts. I mean, if you look at fucking Morgue Pie, for instance, look at fucking Porkpie's Instagram. That is what you were calling out. But no one's calling her out for it. It's all calling out Pokimane. And do you see now why this makes my blood boil so fucking much? Because I'm not even a fan of Pokimane. I don't give a shit. I think that what I'm seeing is this vast injustice, and call me a fucking simp or whatever. Hey, I don't agree with the way that she's done a lot of stuff. I don't agree with the copyright shit that we'll get into in part 3. I don't agree with that shit. I think that shit was fucking pathetic. I'm not gonna sit here and fucking agree with some dude just because he's like on the same side. I don't even think he's on the same side of me. This fucking idiot doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he's coming on here making a video acting like he's a fucking expert on the topic when he doesn't know shit. And he has this massive audience that he's peddling these opinions to, driving these fucking things, and no one's going to question it because his parasocial audience are going to take their information from him. And as we'll find out later, people who are influencers, micro-celebrities, these people have way more of an effect on you in their opinions than any regular old celebrity. People are hearing what this fuckhead is saying, and they're taking it at face value, and they're gonna believe every single fucking word that comes out of his mouth.
Would that mean a man doesn't want her goon baiting on her stream and acting like she's picking things up to show off her assets to her audience that's probably under the age of 18? Yeah. As a man, I would not want my girlfriend doing that either. I'm not out here trying to like seduce the female audience by showing up shirtless in a G-string or something. I don't know. But you get what I'm saying? Like, no, of course. That's not controlling. That's just having respect for the person you're in a relationship with. And she says,
So again, what's wrong, vague poster boy? Is this the infamous Pokey picking something up clip? Wade, please provide us with evidence of your claims in the future, because at the current point in time, I've had to look up every single claim that you have made, and so far, I don't think you've said anything that was even slightly correct. Maybe you're correct about the cookie drama, sure. That's one thing in your entire video that you have actually made correct, and it's like the easiest fucking dunk of all time. You are the most pathetic person I've ever fucking seen talk about this, and there's a lot of people who talk about this Pokimane chick, and you are one of the most pathetic, obviously grifting fucking users I have ever seen. And it's such a shame, because I actually like the way that Wade came off during the Creator Clash stuff when I was covering the iDubbbz. I actually liked the way that he came off. He seemed like a very, I don't know, fine person. He seemed sensible, and just seeing this, it just really goes to show how deep the fucking Pokimane grift train fucking goes, bro. So why can't you provide any examples for any of your claims? Please do that next time, because I have to go and find the clip, and the clip that I'm using might not even be the right one. But I have to come here and say, this is what I think is the clip, and to be completely fucking honest with you, you see a little bit of her backside. Whoa, do we live in 1889 where ankles are revolutionary? Like, get off the Pornhub, you fucking idiots, you ingrates. How do you see this as a pornographic thing or a baity type of thing? It's actually, like, genuinely, you need to stop. If you think that is porn bait, if you think that's goon bait, you genuinely need to fucking stop and get a fucking grip.
you know, based on the content she does, which again, I'm not gonna fucking lie to you, I don't really know what Pokimane does. I don't really know what Pokimane does. What is she actually good at? Because it's not gaming, that didn't work. Running an esports org, that didn't work.
Another claim that Wade makes that is completely baseless, categorically false, untrue. This is such a what the fuck moment. Pokimane has never really ran an esports organization. She had stakes as a co-founder for RTS. RTS is the management company that she had. As we went into the last episode, we talked about that. And RTS, the company, bought Evo Esports, and Evo Esports has actually been around since around 2002, and it is run alongside Sony. Yes, that Sony. And so Wade claims it was one of the many failures that Pokimane had gone through with her businesses, which is literally false. There is nothing true about that. And to be completely clear, I tried looking, I could not find any other affiliations with Pokimane and an esports org, but it would seem to me that it's not a complete abject failure. I really don't understand what the fuck he is talking about, but he's literally just saying stuff, and like, can you please provide evidence? Like, I don't understand how in the year of 2026 people are watching these YouTubers who just come and say shit in front of a microphone, in front of a webcam, and then they just go, yeah, I guess that's true. This is how deep the parasocialism goes, and I'm going to explain what the that means later, but you'll be surprised to hear that this is the exact fucking outcome of how parasocialism affects everything online. Like, what is he referencing? What is he's vague posting once again, and it's just insane to me because also she's not posting anything intimate. I just don't know how many more times I can say that this is an extremely disturbing mentality to have about another person. And I get the hate that she gets. I understand it. I understand people not liking her. I'm not telling you have to like Pokimane, but how is it that people have like absolutely no morals, no actual virtue for the truth, or to even making like a valid, like, it's so easy to just make a video hating on Pokimane to the point where you don't even have to provide evidence. You don't have to provide anything. You don't actually have to say anything meaningful because people will just eat it up anyway.
I don't really know what Pokimane does. Selling cookies, that didn't work. So what she really sells is goon bait on the internet. So yeah, if I'm her boyfriend, I don't want her doing that shit because the intimate parts of who you are as a person are supposed to be shared with me, not the internet. You're not supposed to look for the attention of the internet to your physical attraction. That's not controlling. That's just wanting to be in a committed relationship.
Okay, Wade, you want to talk about goon baiting and posting intimate pictures of yourself online? Let's bring your fucking girlfriend into this as well. I don't give a shit. She seems like a lovely girl. She seems quite nice. I personally would say I don't have a problem with anything that she's posting or wearing. I don't think there's an issue with this. Look, look at this. What the hell? That's kind of revealing. I don't know, we're showing off our stomach. Isn't that kind of fucking weird? Oh, wow, look at this. Crop tops, more crop tops. Wow, that's fucking crazy, dude. Okay, well, shit. Hey, wait a second. This angle looks kind of familiar. I feel like Pokimane has posted something exactly like this. Oh, well, hey now. Hey, we're getting a little bit of belly button action? Okay, girl. Point your butt to the camera? Cool. Wait a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we have it. Is this not an intimate picture of your girlfriend where you literally have people thirsting over her? God damn. Body, okay, I just passed out. This is your girlfriend, Wade. This is your girlfriend posting a bikini picture, which, by the way, I have no fucking issue with. I think women should post whatever the fuck they want. Unlike you, who says that Pokimane is posting fucking intimate pictures of herself, and that if you were her boyfriend in this hypothetical scenario, because it's always going to be hypothetical, buddy, in this hypothetical scenario, you're saying that Pokimane is posting these terribly intimate pictures, and if you were a boyfriend, you wouldn't want that because your partner should be sharing their intimate parts only with you. And this is your girlfriend. This is your fucking girlfriend. Do you care to explain, Wade? Do you care to explain why there's this fucking double standard between Pokimane and your girlfriend? Could it be that you're just grifting on a fucking trend and you're not actually approaching it with any fucking nuance or any fucking information? Everything you have said in your video about Pokimane is just fucking peddling the same vitriol that everyone else posts. Everyone else says the same things. You went through all the talking points. You provided no information, no actual evidence. In fact, you were actually categorically false in statements that you made, and you don't actually have to provide any evidence because you're just feeding your fucking audience the same exact talking points that every single other person has done, and you haven't actually bothered to do any fucking research. You just woke up one day, you decided, this is a good trend, I need a video to make, I'm gonna make a video about Pokimane because I want to make some money today. And you can argue that I'm doing the same thing, but at least I'm actually doing research, I'm actually making points, and I'm actually going through all the different things and actually finding evidence for my points and providing those evidences, and you don't provide any of that shit, bro. What's the wrong, vague poster? Afraid to post something? Afraid to actually say something meaningful for once? Fucking idiot.
I don't really know what Pokimane does.
I don't know, Wade. Why is it different for you when it's different for women? Why do you get to post pictures of you with your fucking legs out like that, you fucking whore? Why do you get to post these pictures of you shirtless? Oh, it's because it's for something different. It's for a sport. It's actually for something. Okay, and look at you here, posing with a fucking gun. Aren't you here just, like, positioning yourself to the men, trying to get fucking gratification from men, validation from other men. I mean, seriously, what are we even doing here? Well, look at this. What about this? You're all sweaty? You're all sweaty and your arms are out like that? Your legs? We get a close-up on your legs and your sweaty arms? I mean, hey, some of you guys might be surprised, but hey, there's a lot of women out there who would find that very attractive. What is this? Hang on a second. No. What's this? There's a scene in this video where you're in your underwear in the snow? Hello? How is this any different to what women are doing? Why does it have to be different? I mean, this is why it's like, I don't give a shit if a woman posts the kind of stuff that his girlfriend posts, because it would be very hypocritical of me to post the same stuff and then say to someone else, hey, you shouldn't be posting that. And I think it's very hypocritical of Wade to be like, oh, you shouldn't be posting your intimate stuff or looking for validation from the internet. Any fucking time that you're posting stuff, you're looking for validation. You want the likes, you want the followers. Posting on social media, by virtue, is looking for outward validation. And no, I don't think people should be doing that. I wish society was less occupied with that kind of stuff. But like, come on, what are we doing here? Why are we acting like this guy is not doing... Look at this! There he is! He's taking off his fucking shirt like a good little... Okay, I'm being a little bit... Look at this! He's in his underwear! Why are you posting something so intimate about your body? Like, why is it all for the women but not for you? Why is this... Like, he sees it as though his audience is full of men, perhaps straight men, so he doesn't have a problem with posting this on Instagram. But what I'm going to tell you is that there are going to be women who are interested in this, who see this, or there could be gay men who like to see that. It doesn't fucking matter. The point is that you're a massive hypocrite, and I hate to say it, buddy, but you really come off as a fucking misogynist for even saying and doing this stuff. At the very least, you're a fucking hypocrite, and I don't like you. And I feel like a lot of people aren't really ready for this conversation, because Pokimane, I would say, is someone who benefits from it. I don't think there's any arguing that. But I don't think she does anything particularly different than every other streamer. I'm just going to say it. The claim is that Pokimane's fame and fortune all stems off the back of gamer boy simp gooners, which I think is certainly true. I mean, I don't think any streamer is gonna get their wealth from just like brand deals, right? I'm sure they help a lot, but especially someone like Pokimane, who started Twitch very early, kind of had a lot of those benefits. Also being someone who was like there when Twitch was still doing partnering with streamers. I think that's another thing to it as well, but for the most part, it's like you wouldn't be where you are today unless you had, for some reason, 5 million people following you. For some reason, right? For some reason or another, she has a lot of followers. But putting the onus on Poki is where I start to be a little bit like, okay, and I can think of a dozen other streamers right now that I could say the same exact thing about. The simp stuff is almost always put on the women who stream, and it seems to be far more aggressive towards women who people view as baiting subtly than women who are outwardly doing fetish content. I mean, I feel like Amaranth, she got a lot of... I think she copped a lot of shit when she was doing like the bikini stuff, the pool stuff, but it feels to me more like it was like mainly just like memes and stuff. But I will say that these days she does not have... I don't think she gets a lot of like... I don't think she gets like any good attention at all. But then you have something about, I feel like people are not calling out people who are more outward nearly as much as someone like Pokimane. Like, it's impossible to have any conversation about Pokimane without it revolving to, she's using her looks, she's too sexy, she's baiting them. I think that women who are more open about their sexuality, especially like when they're streaming and stuff, or a little bit more, yeah, I guess like out with it, like, yeah, I'm wearing a low-cut top today because, yeah, I want people to, you know, come look at the stream. Like, some people are a bit more open about it, and I think there's a certain attitude towards that where it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to call that out because they're clearly just like, they're owning it in a way. They're like farming their sexuality as well, but like they're kind of doing it in an open manner. But what about like someone like Morgpie? Like, sure, she's been getting some criticism for doing literal fetish content on Twitch with her gimp pets. Nothing I thought I would ever say before, but here we are. But the blame is usually put on Twitch for not enforcing their rules fairly. I think it's this view that Pokimane is subtly using her sexuality as a tool for fame and fortune, or she was, because she's already kind of like, she doesn't need to do much more at this point, to be honest. And according to these people, that's where they cross the line. Every single time I ask people about what they dislike about Pokimane, it's always like, oh, she bends over and like she knows what she's doing. I don't really like that. Like, there's this uproar about potentially taking advantage of younger men who are horny and parasocial, and it's just really funny to me that a lot of these guys don't realize that there is a lot of young and lonely men who are also being farmed parasocially by their favorite male streamers. And you know what? Most people don't even understand this. Why? Because most people don't know much more about parasocial relationships other than it's just a term for having a relationship with someone who's like doesn't know you exist. It goes way deeper than that, and we'll get to it. So this otherizing of Pokimane viewers, or literally anybody who doesn't automatically rip onto her for every single thing, people who approach Pokimane with some nuance are met with this really bizarre attitude. People will say things such as like, oh, say PokeW in the chat to prove if someone is subscribed to Pokimane or not, and if they go silent or something like that, it's like considered like, oh yeah, you're a Pokimane simp, you're a Pokimane fan. You can't possibly have any opinion, I guess. Or their opinions and thoughts are just to be discarded and not really thought of in any kind of way. And anyone who remotely defends Pokimane or doesn't immediately go for the throat, like I said before, are viewed as much the same. And I just think that if people really cared so deeply about these poor, assumingly young simps, I think people otherizing those simps and those fans of Pokimane just makes those fans stick to Pokimane and her community that much more. And I'll explain in detail soon about how community is actually an integral part to the parasocial relationships and how they stay in longevity. And it is not unique to Pokimane whatsoever. That's where I personally think that the whole hating on Poki and her simp army is just really people hating on a woman who is rich and famous. And like, sure, she is successful because of her community, but no one forced these people to donate to her. No one forced these people to watch her streams and follow her. And in every single streamer community, there is going to be this dynamic because streaming, at its very essence, at its very core, is parasocial. Even streamers you might consider as not being parasocial are. And I'm going to explain in great detail. I keep saying I'm going to do that. We are going to do that in a second. Why this is so important, and I think that this is relevant to anybody watching this video. And by the way, this isn't a new conversation by any means. The concept of parasocial relationships is actually over 50 years old. And last year in 2025, parasocial was the Cambridge Dictionary Word of the Year. It's a term thrown around a lot, but I don't know how many people realize all of the elements of such experiences kind of contribute to the parasocial relationship. I also didn't know a lot of this myself, but I did some research and it really is quite an interesting social, I don't know, psychological thing that happens, and it's relevant to Pokimane as well as everyone online, and I have no doubt that this is going to be extremely relevant to you as well. So, parasocial relationships in the 21st century. Let's talk about it. Again, like I said before, the idea of parasocial relationships has been discussed and researched since the 1950s. Historically, though, they were a one-sided intimate connection between a media performer based on repeated, scheduled encounters. Communication was strictly a one-way channel, and that might be your understanding of them right at this moment, but what if I told you it's actually quite a bit deeper than that, especially in the current day? In traditional parasocial relationships, a person will extend their emotional energy, interest, and time into the relationship whilst the other person, the media figure, is completely unaware of that person's existence. These types of parasocial relationships were often quite fleeting and not as intense as they can be today. It is not a reciprocal relationship, it is completely one-sided, and that's what makes these relationships so unique. But that's also kind of the basis of people's understandings of the PSR. People tend to not go that much further into learning about it, right? So an individual experiencing a parasocial relationship with a media figure might actually start to shift their behaviors to align with that said celebrity, attempting to reflect their personality, their characteristics, their style, even their demeanor. And interestingly, this can all happen with an on-screen character that is fictional. And I can actually think of a drama happening right now because of people having a parasocial relationship with Overwatch characters. Isn't that interesting to think about? The parasocial relationship discussed in relation to online media performers started to happen around the 2000s, coined micro-celebrities, influencers, social media influencers, and as you can probably guess, this new kind of celebrity differs greatly to the way it used to be, having an exclusive online presence, niche content, but most importantly, accessibility and reach across networks. This changes the dynamic drastically. This potential for interaction with an online creator can amplify the ability to influence the viewer. And thus, this newfound access has potentially and fundamentally changed the nature of parasocial relationships between viewer and performer. Now, there is a stronger sense of community affiliation, wishful identification, and greater emotional investment, as well as fandom cultures. And these are all key elements of the parasocial relationship that I will define in a minute. The close and personal nature of videos and streaming really helps blur the lines for viewers, making them very susceptible to feeling a genuine bond with the performer. And like I said before, this really throws a wrench in the traditional understanding of parasocial relationships. While it is unlikely for bigger streamers to read your comment or respond to you, that feeling of them potentially seeing your message is always looming. It is noted that the potential chance of reciprocation with the performer is just as strong as actually getting that reciprocation. Also, simply seeing the performer interact with people in their chat has been found to reinforce the connection one feels they have with the performer. When it comes to community affiliation, a streamer and their community are essential. These communities foster strong interpersonal relationships built on a shared interest. The sense of community felt among viewers formed and shared with one another serves to reinforce the parasocial relationship and its longevity. The community will feel like part of a process. For example, when a streamer is struggling with a particularly hard Resident Evil boss and everyone's Ada's fucking stupid, Chris is fucking stupid, Piers is fucking stupid, everyone here is fucking stupid. I'm so sick of these stupid, sexy little... Why are they sexy? Why are the swarms like sexy little itty bitty wasted women? Why are you so sexy? Why does the swarm have boobs? Cheering them on, woo, you got it! Or maybe negging them a little bit like, haha, you suck. It's a community thing that everyone kind of participates in the chat. And participation isn't even necessary. You can still feel a part of it even if you're not actively chatting. The core community, though, I think wants their performer to succeed. And in that experience, writing in the chat, forming bonds with others there, learning the names of regulars, becoming familiar with other members, that's where this community affiliation can start to grow. Then, through Discord communities and other websites, these feelings can continue to grow and foster, and it's not all just done in stream chat and ends there. Also, other platforms like Tumblr and Twitter and anything with a grouping component can help foster these fandoms and communities. To dumb it down, it goes kind of like this. You enter a Twitch chat, you chat with others, maybe start learning names, you join Discord where you share funny memes about your shared interests. Maybe it's Pokimane doing a funny face or something. I don't know what people post in that Discord if she has a Discord. But the feeling that reciprocity, I hate this word. The feeling that reciprocity may occur grows stronger. And when you interact with other members in multimedia communities, the fandom for a streamer also grows, and what was once a casual interest will now become amplified because everyone in the same Discord all have an active shared interest in this person and their vibe. You become part of a larger social group, and as humans, we treasure that sense of community and socialization. Again, if there is a chance of a reciprocal interaction with the performer, in these communities, all those feelings get strengthened for everybody. Once more, blurring the lines of how we understand parasocial relationships in the current day. What I was really interested in here, researching the concept of parasocial relationships, is how fandom is involved in it. Traditionally, there is a difference between fandom and parasocial relations because the PSR is a perceived bond. However, fandoms glorifying their performances and favorites is actually a key component of communities and online spaces. God, I need a better place to record. Discussions of fandom in the context of streamers actually supports what research has found. People who watch or choose to watch streamers is based on their persona and not the video game or category, meaning that the streamer and their community are actually a really integral part of keeping people around. Another element of parasocial relationships is wishful identification, and this is the idea that streamers are aspirational figures and you want to imitate them. Not unique to streaming whatsoever, because celebrities are often looked at in the same way as well, but this wishful identification has been found in research to be an important predictor of viewer loyalty, and if a PSR is formed or not. Wishful identification applies to some PSRs, but not all of them. It's an element. People may watch esports or skilled streamers because they aspire to be like them and believe watching them may increase their own abilities. Streamers and community members can discuss methods, tips, and tricks among the chat and help other people who need the guidance. A newcomer who improves their abilities can then also become a part of this community and help the next newbie that appears to help them get better themselves. It's important to note, though, that this kind of motivation doesn't appear to impact the traditional sports broadcasting. And then we have emotional engagement, which is another thing at play here. Like I said before, humans are wired for community and social interaction. The fundamental human need for a sense of belonging can actually be satisfied through parasocial relationships, although I'm definitely not saying it should be a replacement for real relationships. When a streamer and a community can provide real social comfort to viewers, especially when they're in a tough time in their life, unemployed perhaps, broken up with a partner, struggling with depression, anxiety, mental illness, it's particularly powerful. All in all, emotional engagement is one of the crucial elements of understanding how parasocial relationships work and how they are linked with streamers, especially how they can have tangible social and emotional benefits. And when I say tangible, I mean it as in the dynamics that appear with the PSR appear to have a real psychological mimicry of how it is to form a real relationship. Another element to PSR is called presence, and it's a pretty broad concept here, so there are a few subtypes to presence. We have the physical, where individuals perceive virtual objects as actual physical ones. So your stream is not an imagined object on the screen, they are a real-life human being living in a real room at this current point in time, streaming to your computer. Anyway, they're a real person for now anyway. Then we have social presence. Social presence includes the idea that virtual beings are real social people interacting with the chat in live time right now at this second, which is a very important factor here, the live element. Then we have self-presence, where the individuals can perceive their virtual self as their real self. Then we have spatial presence, which is an experience where an individual has a sensation of being physically located in a mediated environment. Which, if you didn't understand what the hell that meant, like me, here's an explanation for what the heck that is all about. So a mediated environment refers to digital settings where people experience a sense of presence. This includes everything from something as simple as a virtual nature simulation designed for stress alleviation to remote connections or communication set up using avatars. Essentially, any digitally constructed space designed to foster feelings of connection and well-being count. So if you're thinking of perhaps a VR type of game, yeah, that falls under it too. It's broad. So what is the point of all these subtypes? They all give the user the feeling of an authentic, genuine interaction which correlates with the strength of the PSR. Another way of saying it is that the more perceived social presence can lead to a higher level perceived parasocial connection. Live streaming has great potential to be high in all of these subtype categories. And if you're watching a face cam streamer, you see their real self, realizing they are a physical person rather than a virtual object. Of course, interacting with the chat in real time. Or what popular streamer doesn't do at least a little bit of acknowledgement of their chat or the people watching. And of course, self-presence as you are a community member. As a community member, you portray yourself and are perceived as an idealized persona of who you are. Also seeing the streamer's room, maybe seeing their kitchen when they do a cooking stream, all these things contribute to the PSR. And of course, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but obviously the accessibility of a streamer being online a lot, streaming for many hours at a time, also amplifies the presence. Even video on demand. Having a VOD channel adds to the presence of the online streamer performer because you can access them at any point in time whenever you want. Do you get it now? Everything down to the way that we talk about our corner of the internet, the way that we interact. If we have multiple social medias where you can access us, potentially get a reply from us, our terminology referring to the community, hey, what's up, chat? Naming your community, labeling your viewers as something to be shared collectively. These are all things that contribute to how parasocial relationships are formed and their longevity. By nature of having all these different social medias and interacting with people, it's the legit starter pack of being a streamer or anyone who wants to make content online. But it quite literally has been researched and found to increase parasocial relationships. Everything we do and everything we know about streaming, about improving your numbers, getting followers, growing a community, it all works because of how parasocial interactions and relationships form. I don't know about you, but for me, it's pretty mind-blowing to realize just how deep this all really goes. The next thing we need to consider is motivation. Traditionally, a PSR might form when you watch the news every day, and a particular newscaster is someone that you like and enjoy watching. Or, your favorite actor suddenly is in a new TV show that really appeals to you. At least with actors, the PSR is very different because they sometimes go away for a while to work on like a movie or a show, and they might not be not contactable, but they might not post as much. They might not be as present. And then they show up later to do press. In the meantime, you could watch old press tours, interviews, rewatch their old movies, but actors were usually not as reliably available. However, with streamers, it's a completely different story. When it comes to live streaming, motivation has been discussed and talks about the motives of desire, of social community, tension relief, or learning about something new like a video game coming out, and many other reasons have been talked about. Watching gamers, for example, there is research that indicates an element of living vicariously through the streamer's achievement, or if you can't afford a game, you can at least watch someone else play it. Watching someone beat a particularly hard game, for instance, is kind of like living vicariously through that achievement. I was here. How many times have we heard that? Chat, I was here. Reinforcing the relationship between the viewer and the community, and thus the PSR. Motivation doesn't impact the nature of the PSR, but it provides valuable insight into how people use and gain gratification from these relationships and experiences. There are both positive and negative impacts. User well-being is a potential impact. The human brain appears to process parasocial interactions much in the same way that a real-life one would, but people can and do recognize the artificiality of this dynamic. I think the people who don't or can't recognize that end up being really dangerous people, whether it's to others or themselves. And unfortunately, parasocial interactions and relationships are most common among children and adolescents, probably because the ability to distinguish between real and artificial is less developed in minors compared to adults, although adults are still susceptible as well. That's not to say that it's all bad though, and we can see examples of the parasocial used in kids' television as a way to help kids learn. encouraging participation of the viewer to make the experience more educational and more grounding for the kids. Negatively, there's the concept of parasocial comparison, where a viewer might compare themselves to the performer, even manifesting as poor body image, which we sadly see a lot of among teenage girls who are online quite a bit. And now I would say with the rampant looks maxing community, it seems it's going to become an increasingly bigger issue for boys as well. One of the most underrated parts of modern day parasocial relationships is actually the algorithms in social medias. They can figure out your preferences and likes fairly quickly and direct you to content that aligns with that. The more you are shown specific creators and watch their stuff, the more that familiarity will begin to seep in. The repeated exposure to specific creators and performers mimics the real-world relationships and the way that they build and develop over regular contact. Like how you see a certain person at school every day or at work. But there are some actual positives to parasocial relationships, believe it or not. Some studies show that you can have parasocial relationships and also maintain and have healthy real-world ones as well. They are not a replacement, well, for general people who understand the superficiality of the PSR and coupled with the importance of their real social life. There are some genuine benefits where parasocial relationships and interactions can promote healthy attitudes and behaviors, a reduction in health-related stigmas, and like I said before, fostering a sense of community can be a good thing. Finding something to cope with hard times can be way better than just raw dogging the difficult times, right? It can help young people explore their identity too, which is actually a really big part of growing up. For example, watching a creator who talks openly about their mental health and struggles can help dispel myths, misconceptions, and humanize the conditions, thus destigmatizing the people with them and reducing prejudice, which we love, by the way. And people with mental health issues can experience a lowered sense of anxiety in group settings because of that. So we can learn a lot of empathy from people we have never even met before. But just to keep in mind that this bond does become unhealthy when the comparisons start to begin. A carefully curated and seemingly perfect influencer life can make people feel inadequate, gain anxiety, and develop poor body image and a negative self-evaluation. Also remember that influencers have an unusually higher perceived trustworthiness, relatability, and authenticity factors compared to traditional celebrities. This means that influencers' opinions actually tend to hold more weight than regular old celebrities. So just because you see Brad Pitt peddling a certain toothpaste, perhaps, you're gonna start seeing maybe like someone like James Charles peddling a something else and go, oh, James knows what he's talking about. James Charles knows toothpaste. He knows toothpaste. Another thing that is less spoken about is the parasocial breakup. When your favorite creator might quit, change directions, or reveal a problematic side, or just stop posting altogether, followers can expect to feel real grief, real loneliness, and anger, leading to stalking, harassment, and burnout for creators who feel these intense bonds. And I can think of a few people who are in the My Boyfriend is an AI subreddit where they have felt real grief after their ChatGPT had its memory wiped and all of their previous experiences together disappear. The personality of ChatGPT that they had created suddenly goes away, and these people, I do think, feel genuine grief. XQC, for example, is not excluded from this. People get entertainment from him, feel less lonely watching him, subscribe to support him because they like him, and have a one-sided affinity for him. XQC also, I think, has had a much younger audience who maybe have grown up with him, and perhaps he has a new young audience coming in again, and they are going to be impressionable, also prone to spending money on stupid things. TTS donations and having XQC react to them is going to be that reciprocal interaction that builds the parasocial relationship as well. Same for Queso. Many people love Queso, including me. Many people donate to him, donate massive amounts of subscribers, and in return get a beloved call out from him, reciprocity. I like Queso. I'm not even going to dog his community because I think Queso is one of those people who actually deserves to be where he is. And I think he is humble and not out of touch. So I think that's maybe where the real divide is. I don't think it's, oh, Pokey has a simp army, or that she stretches herself in yoga pants and bends over to make people donate. I think it's that Pokimane just doesn't come off as sincere or generally grateful to a lot of people. And Queso is a stark contrast of that demeanor. He gives tons of shout outs. He used to interact with his Discord community a lot more, judging people's fridges. All these things serve to increase the PSR, whether it's intentional or not. That is what the outcome is. And you can argue that Pokimane secretly utilizes her sexuality to prey on lonely people, but you can just make the same argument with any other streamer, just replace the sexuality part with just preying on loneliness. It's pretty well known that across the globe, young people are lonelier than ever, and streaming fills that gap even if it's not a replacement for real friends and socializing. The effects of the pandemic and how people coped with online connectivity is still being studied. So when you argue that Pokimane is secretly bending over a certain way to make people salivate and keep donating, it just sounds to me that like no matter what a woman wears or does, it will be sexualized some way somehow, and I made my peace with that a long time ago, but also it's not a very good reason to dislike Pokimane, in my opinion. I think there's real reasons to, so let's cut the bullshit and stop being like, oh well, she had a wardrobe malfunction on purpose. Why? For attention. Right. Okay. Cool. I'm very convinced by you right now. I'm very convinced. It appears to me that people look at Pokimane and wonder, what on earth could people watch her for? And assume it's based on horniness, which it very well could be. Listen, Pokimane's an attractive woman, and watching her stream probably does make people feel like they're hanging out with someone who is a cutie patootie, right? There's the thing about PSR, the parasocial relationships, the community, the feeling of being transported, the presence. Those all kind of play into it, and like I said before, it's not exclusive to Pokimane. And from what I just told you before, streamers don't even need to bend over in yoga pants in order to make money and feed the parasocial relationships. It's so much more than that, and everyone does it. Eventually, I think people need to be a little bit responsible for themselves, and if their parents and schools have failed them to such a severe degree to the point where they are donating thousands of dollars to a stranger online, I feel like we need to call for better parenting and a better society. We need to address the loneliness epidemic, and we need to add more awareness to parasocial interactions and relationships, have it become a natural part of educating children as technologies and online presence has become a dominant part of our lives. People are legitimately turning to ChatGPT to fulfill their real-life relationship gaps and struggles, a fucking LLM that is trained to lick your chocolate starfish. Yet, I hear people saying, oh, well, it could be beneficial to people who are really lonely. According to a Cigna Group report, yep, I read that right, Cigna Group report in 2025, 67% of Gen Z is reported being lonely. And what's more concerning to me is that 1 in 5 teens aged between 13 and 17 experience high rates of loneliness according to the WHO 2025 report. In 2023, the CDC reported that 40% of high school students experienced a persistent feeling of sadness and hopelessness. Now, these lonely Gen Zers are likely between 14 to 29-ish and are very comfortable with doing everything on the phone as we grew up with the technology. Phones make people think they're connected with others, but it's not a replacement for real relationships. This loneliness is compounded by the pandemic and an increase in single-parent households, and the pandemic that occurred was during some pretty key developmental and formative parts of our lives, critical in developing social skills, and Gen Z, also more likely to be raised by a single-parent household, means that the parent has to work a lot in order to make ends meet. It's lonely for everyone involved. And it makes sense to me that people would turn to streaming for company and continue to do so. But it is sad and unfortunate how things have become because people don't know how to make friends. Everything is discourse, everything is whether you're a good person or not, And I guess what I'm saying is that if we want to discuss the issues of people being parasocial towards streamers, then let's have that conversation about that instead of being like, ha, Pokimane simp, you're a loser, Poke W, because in the end that doesn't really help anyone, does it? And it's also not even a good argument to make. You can't be arguing about like how XQC is the best and Pokimane sucks, Pokimane L, when you're literally in a parasocial relationship with XQC. You just don't even know it. And you're pretending that you're somehow better than other people? Yeah. That's a problem, I think. That is a problem with our society at the moment. One of them. Hey guys, I hope you liked my video and enjoyed it. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe if you would like to, just because I guess you have to remind people to do that stuff. No pressure, and hey, if you disliked it, make sure you hit that dislike button as well. We want to be honest here, right guys? Guess what? Mama wants an iPad, mama needs an iPad. Hey, as long as you just watch the video, honestly, that's a great addition to my iPad fund. So if you watch the video all the way through to here, OMG, thank you so much. You have directly contributed to my iPad fund, so thank you. Oh my god, I'm so grateful. Seriously, I really need an iPad, so come on guys, let's get those views up, eh? So I wanted to direct you to my Redbubble page. These are all things that I have made. Yes, I am the original creator of all these things. I don't know if you have ever seen any of this stuff before. And like I said in the video, I am a big fan of queso. So there's actually quite a few queso things here. Also like my own original art and stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, need gifts for anybody, honestly, my queso products are actually quite a hit with people, and same with the rock hyrax as well. People absolutely go crazy for this design, and I love it too. It's one of my favorites, actually. It's quite a good one, I would say. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!